With the U.S. men's national team still without a coach, there's been a lot of talk about the next manager, and typically that talk can revolve around whether the coach should be an American manager or a foreign manager. And the benefits of having an American manager are very clear. He's be more familiar with the player pool, more familiar with the American system, but in reality, there really isn't a great American coach, and even some of the middle of the road foreign options available are typically better than the American coaches that we could have. However, I think that there is somebody who could be the first great American coach who's available right now. He's not ready for the job just yet, but I believe that Fabian Hurzeler could be somebody to look out for. Hurzeler took over St. Pauli just after the World Cup started in the middle of the Germany winter break. He inherited a team that was in the middle of a relegation battle. It was a team that was doing very poorly and needed a turnaround, and he was able to deliver big time. They proceeded to go on a 10-game winning streak, and now they're within striking distance of the promotion playoffs. And it's made all the more remarkable by the fact that Hurzeler is only 29 when he took over the job. He's 30 now and one of the brightest young managers in all of Europe. For a background on Hurzeler, he was born in the United States in Houston before moving to Germany at a very young age. He then entered Bayern Munich's academy and progressed as a very strong talent. He was even made the captain of the Germany under-17 team. As a talented player born in the United States, U.S. Soccer were quick to contact Hurzeler, and he was actually a pretty high-profile dual national battle for them at the time. He was playing with the U.S. under-20 team as a 17-year-old, but did not appear in any official games as he was already provisionally cap tied to Germany and did not want to file a one-time switch. But still, the Bayern Munich player, Germany player playing for the US U20 team, that was somewhat of a big deal at the time, and some of you might actually remember his name from back then. But like most of the players that we spend a lot of time worrying about, it ended up being for nothing. Rosello's career with Bayern Munich stalled out in the second team, and then he moved on to Hoffenheim and later 1860 Munich, where he wasn't able to break into the first team. And at 23, rather than try to salvage his career in the lower tiers of Germany, Hurzeler instead decided to become a coach, taking a job at 23 with Pappenstrad in the fifth tier of Germany. And I should make it clear, Hurzeler didn't just go into coaching, he became the manager, or player manager more accurately, of the team at the age of 23. He was younger than most of the players that he was managing, but still, he was able to do a good job with the team, and he took the fifth tier squad and he was able to bring them into the fourth tier. At the same time, he started doing some coaching with the German Federation's youth system and was really starting to build together a solid resume. He was able to take that and become an assistant coach at St. Pauli, where after a terrible start to the season, he became their head coach and then proceeded to go on the 10-game winning streak that I talked about. That is a very strong resume for a manager at the age of 30. But when you look at his career, all of it was spent in Germany. So I'm wondering if he even has any connections to the United States, or if he's just a German manager who happened to be born in the United States while his parents were working there. Well, from a Brian Scretta article from 2010, it's revealed that he does speak fluent English. And according to a Brian Scretta article from 2023, which shout out to Brian for covering the same guy 13 years apart, he has spent time with the Philadelphia Union at their team, where he's working with Jim Curtin and talking with Ernest Tanner and using that as a good learning experience. In addition, there are articles written in German from back from his playing career, where he talked about his time spent in the United States as a child, where he'd make frequent trips to places like Miami. So I don't think that's too big of a concern to have. I think we still claim him as American manager. That is the career of Hurzeler up to this date. And now I want to talk a bit about him tactically and what he's doing that has made his team so strong. And the first thing I want to say in regards to his tactics is that there are two different things you have to talk about: his ideal and what he's actually doing. Because he took over a St. Pauli team mid season, he didn't have a full summer to implement all of his ideas, to bring in the players that he wanted to. So he was working more with the players that he had, similar to an international job, when he was getting the best out of his current players. And then there's the potential of what he could do when he has a summer where he can fill out his team to his wishes and implement the ideas that he wants to do. So first I'm going to talk about what he would like to do with the team, and then what he has been doing with St. Pauli. As someone who spent most of his career at Bayern Munich, one of the premier clubs in the entire world, Hurzeler wants to dominate possession, have most of the ball, and create chances with the ball. However, as someone who also spent a lot of his times in the lower tier of Germany, he also understands how important defense could be and how vital pressing can be to his system. So he's developed a lot of good ideas revolving pressing and keeping the ball in possession, which is pretty typical for just high quality German managers to have. But he has been doing things a little bit more differently with St. Pauli. Hurzeler sets up the team in a 3-4-3, though that formation is a very fluid, as I'll get into later. But the team defends in a mid block and has kind of like a mid press, as opposed to a high press that a lot of high quality teams have. With the players that Hurzeler has currently, a high press would not be ideal for the team. So what they do is instead of pressing the center backs, they try to bait passes into the field, into positions where they are ready, and then strike there, as opposed to just chasing after the ball the entire time. In addition, they keep kind of a mid-line where they don't step up their center backs too far, but they're not exactly playing deep. And this defensively has worked out very well for Hurzeler's squad, as they have kept 7 clean sheets in the last 12 games. Offensively, they have been even better, having not been shut out once in the 12 games under Hurzeler. The team will build up a lot through the flanks as opposed to building up in the midfield. As you can tell, they only have 2 players in the midfield most of the time, and those players are given a lot of license to roam freely. So you will often have a pretty big space open in the midfield, but as I mentioned before, their defense has been strong, so that's not too much of a concern about that. Oftentimes, you'll get the ball out with the left or right center back who will have options to pass to the midfielder, the wing back, the inside forward, and they'll be able to create a lot of overloads in those positions. In addition, a lot of the attacking is done by those inside forwards who are playing as inverted wingers, and their center forward will often be dropping in a bit deeper, similar bit to how Jurgen Klopp was playing Liverpool, having 2 offensive-minded wingers and a striker who's playing a bit more deeper. I think this is a very good way for them to set up. They can get a lot of goals this way. And in addition, their pressing is also able to generate goals for them. They've been playing very well under this system. And I think it's a lot done to how Hurzeler is getting the best out of his players. The team is lined up in a 3-4-3, but it's a 3-4-3 in name only. A lot of times the positions will shift around a bit and can look very asymmetrical at times as well. You have middle center back Eric Smith, who will oftentimes step into the midfield or even be playing a bit more of as a defensive midfielder. Then you have left back Lart Picarda, who will come inside and drift into the midfield, allowing more space for the midfielders to go out wide. Maybe you'd have the inside forward drift wider as well. And there's a lot of room for fluidity in this team. That midfielder Hartel, who can drift out wide a lot. You have Jackson Irvine, who will stay central a bit more, be a bit more of a box-to-box presence. And as mentioned before, the front three can be, you have the striker who can drop to the midfield as well. Like there are a lot of different waves to this team, a lot of different things that they can do. And I'm really interested to see how Hurzeler will do with a team of his own making because he's implementing a lot of good ideas with his team that are built around the players that he had available to him. But when he has his own team to build around, I'm really interested to see what he can do. If he will go to a high pressing team, if his team will dominate the ball more than they do right now. And I think there's a lot of good potential for Hurzeler. That is Fabian Hurzeler, the man who I believe has the potential to be the first great American manager. He's been doing great work for St. Pauli in Bundesliga 2, but they'll likely be there next season, and I'm even more excited to watch him then because I think he'll be able to implement his own ideas with the team even more, but the flexibility and fluidity that he's shown in the squad that he inherited has been great. Watching him turn around St. Pauli has been very good, and I believe he could be the next really good manager to come out of Germany. I mean, there's always a chance it could be him, and I'm really excited to watch him for the future. And maybe one day he could manage the U.S. squad. But right now, it's looking like he's still going to have a little bit more time to develop. I mean, I don't think we should be appointing a 30-year-old manager at the moment. But I'm really excited to watch how his career progresses. And yeah, that's all I got to talk about. See you.